Welcome at Adevărul Live. We have a special guest today. It's the Chargé d'Affaires ad interim of United States of America in Bucharest, Mr. Duane Butcher. Welcome to Adevărul. It is probably the last interview for the Romanian press before you leave Bucharest. Near to me, my colleague and editor-in-chief Adevărul newspaper, Dan Marinescu. Thank you for your presence here. Let me start this interview asking you why you have to leave Romania just 3 months before the presidential elections.
That's a question I've been asking myself as well. I've made no secret of the fact that I would love to stay longer. You know, this is I'm here on a diplomatic assignment for 3 years. It's you know, the State Department is an institution like any other with its own rhythms and its own rules, and we have a lot of professional diplomats, and I'm leaving as scheduled and being replaced by another extremely experienced and professional diplomat who will carry on the work.
I see some regrets in your voice.
I not tried to conceal
the end of your mandate here.
I've been thinking a lot about the cliche when we leave a post is to say that I have mixed emotions, or to say that it's bittersweet. But the truth is, for me, my emotions are only mixed, you know, between sadness and regret, and it's in fact entirely bitter. I would be very happy to stay for longer. I've had a wonderful 3 years here. And it's been great. But I do leave knowing that the mission is in very good hands with Dean Thompson replacing me.
Okay, which are the strongest memories you have in your mandate here?
Oh, that's this has been such a sort of non-stop, dramatic, fun story that it will be a mix of the political excitement, the natural beauty. That I've had an amazing time here. Certainly I think that the thing that will last the longest, that, you know, as a diplomat, as a senior diplomat, as someone who has the privilege to lead a mission for a period of time, you mostly remember the moments, the sort of closed-door historical moments that you're privileged to take part in. But I think that this is for me a story that's really about people, and we're I'm in a phase where people are saying thank you for my contributions here, but this is something. The truth is, I'm happy to hear that. Naturally, I'm flattered to hear that. But I think that our contribution, the contribution of the West to the recent history of this country, has been to help Romania along the right path. But that is a path which is dictated by the citizens of Romania, who are making it clear that they are carving out a path into the West, that they are dedicated to Western values and to very serious participation in the NATO alliance and to the strategic partnership with the United States. I think that what I will take away is the contributions of individual Romanians, some of them very famous and celebrated, someone who will go down in history as people who defined their time, and others who may be forgotten. But I will never forget the soldiers who give their lives in Afghanistan, the gendarmes who guard my house. The people who, for whatever reason, can never be recognized for their work, the people who defend Romania in the shadows, the people of all sorts, at all ranks, at all levels of experience, who make so many contributions to making this country the really powerful and important ally that it has become.
You are very well known in Romania among the diplomats here, and probably the peak of one of the most important moments. It was 2012 summer crisis, political crisis, and a lot of people watched you during this hot summer. How do you see, after 2 years, those moments? Do you think it was a coup?
I think that Romania in 2012 passed a test, and maybe, or at least it seemed to us that they passed a test. Maybe this was a matter of appearances and visuals, but I think that after the events of 2012 and since then, I think that we are reassured in Romania's in the course that Romania has set for itself, that this is a country which is rooted in democratic values, in rule of law, in a constitution, in following those orders. I'm very reassured as I leave that this is a course that Romania is committed to, and that this is something that is shared across the population and across the political parties.
In your opinion, which was the major factor ending the crisis?
In 2012?
Yes.
I think that in the end, there is a political consensus to do the right thing, to follow the Constitution and follow democratic practices.
Why during this crisis, the United States was so active in Romania? You know, a special envoy was here, Philip Gordon, to discuss all the political aspects, and you were so active and spoke with all the people, and a very clear voice what was heard then from the United States.
I think it was important for us at the time, and it remains important, to remind Romanians that their participation in all of the partnerships and everything, that for us that their strength depends on adherence to Western values and constitutional order, and that we wanted people to know that we had an opinion, that it was clear that this is part of the relationship. And as a friend, I think we feel an obligation to speak our mind. And certainly I think that's one thing we treasure in our friends, is their willingness to tell us when, to give us good advice when it's necessary. And I think that that's the role that we saw for ourselves then and that we see for ourselves now.
Okay, we talk about the past. Let's talk about the future now.
And the present.
My colleague already mentioned that in 3 months we will have presidential elections here, and I ask you, on a scale from 1 to 10, how important are the presidential elections in November for the future of Romania and the future of the partnership between Romania and US?
It seems to me that every election I've witnessed in my own country and here has always been the most important election, and because it's the one that's in front of us. I think that I've been willing to go on record as making a prediction about the presidential campaign and the results of the presidential campaign, and I feel very reinforced in saying that my prediction is that the winner of the presidential campaign will be someone who is firmly committed to the strategic partnership with the United States, to membership in the European Union and NATO, and to being a great partner, and also committed to democratic values and constitutional order. And I feel very convinced of that. I have to say, I think that we're confronted with choices during presidential elections, and that's right and proper. But this is always important. But I feel very sure that whatever the outcome, that Romania is very firmly on a good course, which will lead to an even brighter future.
The political landscape in Romania is a little bit confusing in this moment. I'm sure you know all the potential candidates. Do you have in your mind the profile of the future president of Romania?
I think it's terribly important that the future president of Romania be someone who's very committed to the strategic partnership, to membership in NATO and the European Union, and a pro-Western course, and I'm confident that that's the type of person we're going to get.
You are a very good observer of the Romanian social and political life. What do you think about the Romanian justice? Is it independent, or is it under political control from your point of view?
I think, given recent developments, while I was already convinced that Romanian justice was independent, I think that the events of the last few months have really removed any question that this is a justice system that's under any political control. I think that there are many areas where Romania can be proud, whether it's participation as a NATO ally, whether it's progress in economics, economic growth, but I think for us, the area where we are probably the most proud of Romania is really the progress that's been made over the last, I think this progress has been continuous, but it's become so clear in the last 12 months, the serious work that's being done by the police, the prosecutors, the justice system, and I think at this point, no serious observer can conclude that this is anything but an independent and properly functioning justice system.
Why do you think it was this clear progress in the last 12 months?
It's an excellent question. We ask ourselves this question. I believe that this is actually like many things, you invest, you do a lot of hard work in things, you spend time and money, you do training programs, you reform systems, you try things sometimes they work, sometimes they don't, you improve. I think we're now seeing the payoff of work that's gone on over the last 10 years. And I don't think there's any other explanation for this. Certainly you don't turn on a dime. You don't, a single personnel change does not turn a bad system into a good system, but the way to fix things, the way to improve things is put a lot of work into it, spend a lot of time, and I think Romania has been willing to do that, and now we are seeing that payoff. And I think that this is a payoff which now is in headlines and now is in cases. But in the long run, this is a payoff which you journalists have an obligation to remember. This because the payoff will not be immediately clear what this is. A cleaner, a more fair, a more just Romania is going to be a much wealthier Romania. It's going to be a place that is more appealing for investment, a place where businesses function better and quicker, and there'll be better jobs and better paying jobs, and there'll be more, a faster growing economy here, because Romania will be cleaner, because people will follow rules, because the playing field will be level. And so the headlines of today of this or that person being arrested will translate into headlines of tomorrow of higher growth and better jobs and better salaries and just a stronger, more stable, more prosperous Romania. And of course, selfishly for the United States, a better partner for America.
Speaking about the rule of law and the fight against corruption, do you think there are risks that days like Black Thursday to repeat in the Romanian parliament?
It was Black Tuesday, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I thought you said Thursday.
Yes.
So there was a Thursday I missed?
Tuesday, yes.
We work very closely with politicians, political leaders across the spectrum, also in Parliament, to make it clear how important we think is that Romania continue this course of very seriously fighting corruption. And what we're hoping for is to see, some look at some of these systems like immunity for certain positions, where Romania might look at a system which is more like some of the other countries, where where people accused of crimes would face justice sooner. And I think when I think about possible changes, I hope for what I would see as improvements in that area rather than backsliding.
What about the Romanian political leaders? Do you think that justice will be in danger after the presidential elections?
I think we've seen every serious Romanian leader speak out in favor of continuing to fight corruption. I think that at this point, there's really no doubt left that a strong Romania and a strong partner will have a strong fight against corruption. And I think we're now in a situation where this is not something Romanians are embarrassed about. That when Romanians are in global fora, they're not going as a country which might be concerned that it's perceived as a corrupt country, but rather a country which is celebrated for leading the fight and for in fact showing itself as an example to similar countries. We all confront corruption. There's no country that's free of corruption, but a country that does a very good job of fighting it can be proud of that and can set the standard for others.
Do you think that in the Romanian society the perception about corruption is somehow exaggerated, that we are making progress and we don't see this progresses?
I was talking before about investment and time and investment, and I do think that it's important for those of us who have a voice to remind people of the connection between fighting corruption and our day-to-day lives. Because, well, there are some forms of corruption that are very debilitating for a country and its economy, but that link may not always be clear. And I think it is important for us to remind people that the cleaner any country is, the better that is for the citizens of that country.
From your point of view, which is the most significant threat against the security of Romania in the next year?
I've been thinking a lot about Romania's security as I get ready to depart, and of course as I do my round of departure meetings. And I am so confident in the position that this country is in. Whether you look at being nearly independent, in energy, and in fact, that now we're not worrying about Romania being dependent on energy, but we're looking for ways that Romania can help the rest of Europe provide better security for energy. I think this is an enormously well-equipped country to resist foreign influences and to really forge its own way as a member of the alliance and of the union. And it's hard for me to see. I mean, the weakness, our weakness is corruption, but that's been almost transformed into a high point with the successes we've seen here. This is a strong country. This is a place that is uniquely well defended, and a place that I have very, very high hopes for.
You spoke about Romania. It's well equipped to resist the foreign influences. It's about Russian threats.
Certainly, we have been made no secret of our concerns about the influence that Russia, the actions that Russia has taken in Crimea, and in Ukraine, and we would certainly be concerned at seeing those types of actions, really unprecedented and disappointing actions. We would be very concerned to see anything like that in Romania. But I think that, as I said, this is a country which is very well defended against anything like that.
We talk a lot about the American investors in Romania. Some of them already came, but we still wait for many others. What shall we do to convince them? Why do they fear?
This is another focus, and so I'm glad that you brought that up, because it isn't something I've necessarily been talking as much as I should. One of the things that I need to say first is that the numbers are always a little off when it comes to American investment, because a lot of American investment is through European subsidiaries, and so you know, I don't think any of us believe that Microsoft is an Irish company, or that Ford is a German company. There are a lot of American investors here, but clearly investment here can grow, and the way to do that is to improve the conditions on the ground. The way to do that is to make it clear that Romania is a stable, predictable place to invest. It's stability, transparency, and predictability. That's what businesses look for. And they will come here and they will talk to the American investors and the other investors that are on the ground here, and they will nearly always hear a good story. They will hear about a tremendous workforce, a well-educated English-speaking workforce doing really high-value jobs here. This is not a place that's competing based on how low your salaries are. This is a high-tech workforce. The companies here tell a good story, but they are still confronted with more bureaucracy, with more opacity, a lack of transparency. These are areas where I know that the government is well aware of and working on, but I think that's something that is really important, is to just make it easier to do business here, to make it easier. It's there's always a tendency, I think, to try to improve marketing, but I think a good place to do business markets itself. And I think that the focus of the government needs to be on working on the business climate, and finding more ways to simply make sure that the businesses here succeed. And that will not only attract American investment, but that will attract investment from all around the world, and even from within Romania as well. That will encourage people to keep their money here, to make money, to take advantage of your workforce, take advantage of your location.
Have you complaints from the American investors confronting corruption here in Romania?
There certainly have been concerns about corruption. And corruption is on the list of concerns that companies have with the investor. I've heard this not only
from... It's a problem for them?
Not only for American firms, but for other countries' firms as well. But I think that in general, the corruption is an important part of this list, but that also includes uncertainty about tax regimes, uncertainty about VAT returns, concern about what categories of employees might or might not be taxed, complications involving state aid, and promises made about infrastructure improvements and things like that. There's an array of things. These are not terribly big problems, but they are problems that are factors when companies look to invest here.
Do you speak with the Romanian government about the fiscal instability, changes in the law, fiscal laws, and so on?
We do. Yeah, we are in close contact with our Romanian partners, and I think that there is an understanding within the government, within the political class, that improvements need to be made in the business climate.
I'm afraid the results are not so clear.
This is a hard, like everything else.
What's happened in the Romanian fiscal laws.
All of this is hard and takes time, but I think that this is a country which one of the national characteristics of which is to listen, and to take on board what other people have to say. And I'm confident that the opinions of the international community here also will be heard, and that in fact whatever Romanian government we see over the next few years will make a priority of improving the business climate.
So I have a delicate question. There are some analysts here said that US are interested only in military matters, letting economical matters for Germans and Russians. What do you think about this?
I don't think that's a sensitive question, and I think that it, but I might be entitled to be a bit annoyed about that. I think that while the American presence, military presence here and military cooperation is a very important part of our relationship, and certainly Romania's partnership in Afghanistan is something that's of very meaningful to us. The truth is that in a day-to-day, as a day-to-day matter, the American investment here is far greater in economics. It's far greater than the military presence in terms of how many people's lives are touched. If you look at any one significant American investment here, that a major factory, the Ford plant, employs many more people than all of the American military presence here combined. A single investment. The American investments also don't only come with money, but they come with technology, and they come with an American approach to doing business and to standards and to safety that has an effect on the economy as a whole as we invest in your workforce and do training and bring in high technology and bring in new approaches. And I think that is something that should never be overlooked. The fact is that the Germans are a lot closer, and they will always be important players here. It's a big economy that's nearby, and I think you mentioned other countries too, that you're always going to see a lot of European investment here, and but also we have to remember that the biggest American investment here may be on the books as a German. It is likely to be on the books as a German investment, and so no, I reject that type of analysis.
Okay.
Which are the perspectives of the shale gas exploitation in Romania? Because the Chevron company just announced stopping his works and drilling at Punjești. You know, it was a lot of dispute.
A hot point.
A hot point there.
I do remember. I mean, it's important to point out that the Punjești drilling is finished because the job is done. Because
this is the reason.
Yeah, they got to the bottom. I think they say the floor. They got to the floor. They got the samples they need, and now we're in suspense. And within the next few weeks, I expect that we will learn the results of that, and that'll be very interesting when we look at Romania's there's sort of array of possibilities for Romania as they look to be more secure in energy. Then it'll be very useful to know how exploitable that resource is, and you're in a tremendously beneficial situation where it looks like there's gas and oil offshore, and there are a lot of opportunities to save more with economies, and there are a lot of renewables that can be exploited here, and there's the possibility of nuclear, and then there's this question about developing shale, what we call unconventional, that you're going to learn a lot more after Chevron's work is done, and certainly the results in Punjești will be fascinating. I've made them promise me as soon as they release the information to send me an email and let me know what's down there, because I'm fascinated about what's in how exploitable that rock is. The visiting the site was one of the interesting things I got to do here, and I will say that the amount of attention they pay to safety and to doing things correctly, it was really impressive. And I hope that all oil companies or all energy companies work to those standards. But I was extremely impressed with the very serious approach that they took towards protecting the environment and to protecting their workforce.
How do you explain this tough reaction, these protesters in Punjești against Chevron?
Against Chevron, because we have Lukoil, a Russian company, who has prospections in Romania, and nobody protests against them.
I've always found it curious that there's such concern about Chevron drilling a conventional well, which might one day lead to the possibility of hydraulic fracturing, when there's not that much concern about the hydraulic fracturing that goes on all the time in Romania. But we have to recognize the fact that this is a controversial technology, and one which is controversial around the world. And I have to say, we respect the opinions of the people who protest, and we respect the opinions of people who are politically opposed to this. We think it's important that Romania consider the possibility of using hydraulic fracturing as a means of improving their energy security, but only under conditions where safety of individuals and the environment can be assured. And ultimately, that is a decision for a democratic country to make for itself, as is being made at the state level in the United States.
So we have to wait and see the results of this exploration.
Yeah, it's possible that you won't have to make a decision if in fact we find out that that's not an exploitable resource. Then of course you won't be confronted with that particular decision.
Speaking about the gas and the political and geostrategic gas supplies in these regions, do you have perspective from the Exxon exploration in the Black Sea?
I don't have specific details to give you, but I know that they're very pleased with the progress of the investment. I think that there's a rig moving into place, or maybe beginning operations very soon. I think the important thing to remember about deep water gas is that while there are engineering challenges with that type of investment, those are things that are very well within the capabilities of our companies to do well. That the important thing about a deep water investment like that is to make sure that the regulatory environment at home is ready, and because what makes that resource exploitable is to make sure that it can be, that the gas can be sold, at a profit that's worthy of the investment, and that is something for the government to decide here. And the truth is that the crucial decisions to be made about deep water gas are made in Bucharest in ministries, and don't have that much to do with the work of the engineers over the sea and under the sea.
Speaking about energy, how do you see the negotiation between the Romanian government and the Chinese government for massive Chinese investment, especially in the energy sector in Romania, and nuclear plant, and also classic energy sector?
We have no policy position involving Romania looking for investment from anywhere. We have a very close ongoing relationship with China, and welcome Chinese investments at home. And I would say, as for any investment, it's important that Romania do business in a clear and transparent way and ensure that their own objectives are met, and but I think that we don't have particular concerns about Chinese investments here.
You heard that in these days DNA started an investigation about a cheat with public money, which involves a lot of officials, members of the Romanian government from 2001 to 2013. During the investigation, it was mentioned the name of Microsoft, American company. Is there any investigation starting in US about this case?
While we have great faith, as we've discussed about the DNA and the Romanian justice system, I actually don't have any information to share on any specific case.
Speaking about this specific region, our specific region, how do you see the outcome of the Ukrainian crisis?
Wow. Could probably retire if I knew the answer to that. I think all I can say is that this is a moment that's a crisis that concerns all of us in the Atlantic Alliance and in Europe, and it's very important that the Ukrainian people be allowed to determine their own future. And I think this is what we are concerned about, why we're so concerned about Russian involvement in the East and this purported annexation of Crimea. These are matters of real concern, because the Ukrainian people should be allowed to democratically determine their own future.
Which are, for Romania, the measures, these measures announced by President Obama, speaking about to reassure the allies about the commitment of the United States to defend the NATO alliance. What means for Romania this measure?
Well,
these measures?
I hope that after seeing what happened in Crimea, it would be reasonable for people in Romania to worry about what might be next. And I think that's been the purpose of these reassurance measures. I think that we've been able to highlight the really daily cooperation that we see between Romanian and American forces and other NATO forces. We should point out that this has really been a team effort, and that plenty of countries have participated in this, from the French naval presence to the Canadian fighter jets that are F-18s, yes, that are here. That this is, the NATO is NATO, and we're there for each other. And I think that those assurance measures, one would hope they wouldn't be necessary. One would hope that it would go without saying that members of NATO protect each other. But I think that these assurance measures just make it very clear for everyone, and it's nice to, put up to put some concrete evidence of partnership there, just to remind people that there's a reason why you joined this organization, and there's a reason why that you're there, and that we do protect each other in need.
Can we expect American troops here in large number?
I think that will very much depend on the evolution of what happens farther east. At this point, I wouldn't hazard a guess. I will say that you will certainly see a presence at Devaselu for the foreseeable future, and we're very, very happy with the use of Mihail Kogalniceanu, especially as a transit base for the forces coming from Afghanistan, and also to some extent forces still going to Afghanistan, and also the permanent basing of the Black Sea Rotational Force, the Marines that are there that work with your forces and with other forces in the region. That this has been a really terrific partnership, and we've gained a lot from it. I hope that Romania has as well.
But the Veselu anti-missile shield is not orientated against Russia. Other threats.
I think if you look geographically, and if you think about just simple numbers, it's clear that this is not a threat to Russia.
Yeah.
When President Obama won for the first time the presidency, his strategy for foreign policy is focused on Asia, and not in Eastern Europe. Do you think the Ukraine crisis will make some changes in the political strategy of the White House?
When we were talking about the pivot to Asia, we tried to make it clear that this was a focus on Asia that we were engaged in with our European partners and not instead of our European partners. But certainly what's going on in Ukraine has reminded us that history is still happening out here, and that we need to pay attention to what goes on in the European Union and farther east.
Do you think at the end of your mandate it is possible in the near future to have an American president visiting Romania? Because in his 2 terms, Mr. Obama never put foot on Romania.
I would be very proud to see President Obama visit Romania. I think that would be great, and I think it's very, very possible. Although I certainly am not able to say, to put a number on it. I think it would be great to see the president come here, and we've been very pleased to have Secretary Hagel and Vice President Biden reflect on the partnership, and I think a president visiting would have a very similar message on it, and with even greater intensity, and that would be great. But there are no plans in the short term.
I'm sure it's a question you already answered many times, but we have to ask you about the Romania visa waiver program and what is not available for Romania in this very moment.
Well, I think we've, you've asked the question before, and you've heard the answer before, that as the current law stands, the refusal rate needs to be around 3%. It's very low, and it will be many years before Romania is likely to achieve a refusal rate that's low. For that reason, as a part of the comprehensive immigration reform, the administration has proposed that 4 countries that meet certain requirements as partners, that we actually change the minimum refusal rate to a level of 10%. That is something that Romania would easily meet, and the other requirements are likely also things that either are met or will be met in the near future. The concern is that this is a change in our law, which has been passed by one house but not passed by the other house of Congress. And while the administration strongly supports that bill, for now it does not. It's hard to see when it might be passed. So the administration supports a change, a comprehensive immigration reform. As a part of the comprehensive immigration reform, we would lower we would use a different metric, but a metric which Romania would likely meet soon. Yeah.
And the same question: why we don't have an ambassador here?
I thought it was just because the Chargé has done such a great job.
Yeah, it is. But some Romanian, they are expecting American ambassador here.
I'm sure that your readers and your viewers will appreciate that I was joking, but certainly Romania and America deserve an ambassador here. It's a relationship which it's an important relationship and a warm relationship. And I am not sure why it's taken so very long, but I'm confident that we'll get a name soon, and that we'll have both an ambassador and a DCM in the near future.
Okay. Do you have one more question?
No.
One more question for me. And who are your best friends in Romania?
Oh, that's too hard a question. I can't, I couldn't possibly answer that question. I have so many great friends here that I would never risk offending any of my very close friends by picking one out. But there are people here in all walks of life who are doing great work for this country. There are people whose names are mentioned in the paper and they're never mentioned in the paper who do amazing work. And you know, I wish I could celebrate all of them, but it's the thing that I will take away is exactly that. There's the number of heroes that are working in and out of government, in and out of politics, that are doing things in the spotlight and behind the spotlight, behind the scenes, and that doing great things for this country. Nothing happens by mistake, and embassies and speeches help, but they don't, in the end, move. You know, they don't really change the country. What changes the country is really heroic effort by people who are doing the right thing, and there are a lot of people here who are doing the right thing, and those are the people that I celebrate and treasure. That's the thing that's made this experience so valuable for me and so really special for me.
Now
you're going to follow up.
Yeah,
that would have been a good way to end it.
I think my colleague question is that do you have any friends between the presidential candidates in Romania?
I'm friendly with all the presidential candidates.
It's a very diplomatic answer. But do you think in the future, in the next months and years, the U.S. Embassy will be as active, as involved as in your mandate was?
I think we will always be as active and involved as Romania needs us to be. I think that you will hear from us, but we'll focus on the needs of the day, and if that's, you know, depending on where the desire is, then that's where the embassy will work.
I think this is a good title for the interview.
Yes, it is. What will be your next job?
I'm going to work in the State Department
in Washington.
In Washington in a job which I hope will be very, very interesting, but is not interesting to explain and would not be rewarding for your viewers. It's in the Office of Budget and Policy, and I'm hoping that I will learn a lot about how the State Department works and how we work with Congress and how we manage our performance, but I don't know enough about it yet to say anything on the record.
Oh, you'll miss the Romanian press.
Well, I will certainly miss the face-to-face experience of the Romanian press, but I plan to experience your work through the magic of the internet for many years.
And I have one more question. What is your opinion about the Romanian press? Because it's a lot of the discussions here. It is independent, it is partisan, it is working for some very thin group of people.
It's hard to characterize the work of a large group of people. I think that there are certainly parts of the media here where we are certainly concerned about ownership, about standards, about practices. And I think we've made it clear where we have concerns about the business practices, maybe even criminal practices of some organizations here. And we've seen that there are parts of the media here that have simply staked out a claim against corruption. I mean, against fighting corruption, in favor of corruption, in favor of it, and that I cannot and will not defend. However, I will say that Romanians are often too hard on themselves. The Romanian media is too hard on themselves, that in fact you have a lot of committed people here doing very good work, and under tough conditions, because we're in a transitional period for media around the world, and we're still figuring out how to make this work in the new information age. But I think that there are a lot of journalists here who do a lot of credit for doing very good work here, and I will certainly, when I think of journalists in Romania, I think about the friends, and I think about the people who are doing good work under tough conditions, who are really among the heroes that I like to talk about, among the heroes I mentioned in my 3rd of July speech, and among the people I mentioned. I think that there's great work being done here. The role of the media is something, we talk about as the 4th estate, that you cannot conceive of a functioning democracy without a healthy, free press. The journalists have and the media in general have a very crucial role in that, and I think that is something understood by the vast majority of working journalists in Romania.
Thank you for your time here.
Thank you for being here.
It's my pleasure.
Best luck in your future job in Washington, D.C. And we are waiting for you to come back.
Thanks very much. I'd love to come back.
Maybe with President.
That would be great.
Adevărul.